You're listening to Closing Market Weekly, the show where real estate closings meet real world insight. With your host, Phillip Hogan. And every week we break down the trends, tools, and the timing that keeps deals moving forward. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Phillip Hogan, the host to Closing Market Weekly and the CEO to Signing Services of America. Welcome to another episode. And we've been having some great times talking in the past in regard to, what's going on within the worlds of Closing Market Weekly and, of course, with Signing Services of America. And also talking about my project, which is my first book titled Relentless Excellence, a story of family, business building, and value-driven leadership. And I thought that I should talk more about the inspirations that led me to writing this book and really give you some kind of context as to, what is the overarching message that I am hoping to send to the readers of my book. And so one of the major sources of inspiration are, of course, my parents who are deceased. And speaking of that, I really recommend that, when you have an opportunity for those of you who have your parents still in your lives, to really cherish the moments with them, let them see, the things that they have either shown you, taught you, or worked with you on, so that they can then go on, when they do go on to meet the Lord, that they will be able to say, okay, well, we've seen our children or child be able to accomplish these things because of hopefully the lessons they acquired from us. And my parents, I'm sure, are looking down and smiling because they saw that, okay, well, even though things weren't done before we left the earth, we're seeing that Philip is doing the things that we've instilled in him, and they're pretty proud of me. So they are a source of my inspiration. Matter of fact, my entire family, from my great grandparents to my grandparents to my parents to my aunts and my uncles, as well as my siblings, right, is that they have all been, in one way or the other, a contributor to the book and thus the values that we talk about in the book. And so, another person that is a tremendously inspiring source is someone who was my mentor for my first business and also wrote the foreword to my book. And her name is Joanne Page. She is the former executive director of a very well known, well established nonprofit in New York named Fortune Society. And when you read the book, you'll learn more about Joanne and the work that she's done within the Fortune Society. And I think that you'll be very impressed. By the way, you can go to my website, philliphogan.com. That's PHILLIP.com. And you can learn more about my projects, my businesses, and my hobbies, as well as read an excerpt from the book. And another source of inspiration is someone who has gone on to meet the Lord as well, but she was so wonderful in helping me build my first business. Not so much build it, but without her involvement, without her consent, without her oversight, I it wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't. No matter how much I wanted to do, no matter how much of a great idea I had, no matter how much others wanted to support the business, this individual was critical and for my first business to be established. And I was thankful then to her, and I'm thankful to her now, and I will always be thankful to her, because when someone allows you the opportunity, when someone supports you and allows you to build your idea, to have your idea and bring it to fruition, it's a really special relationship that is established between you and that individual. And this person who I'm talking about is that individual. And when you read the book, you will see a brief story as to how our relationship originated and what were the outcomes and the requirements for that relationship to work. and how, because we meaning my team and I, complied with her request, is why we were so successful. And speaking of that success, you just never know when someone's going to come into your life. And if you're open to these individuals coming into your life, then they will offer their gifts, and their gifts can be translated or help you to transcend one place to another place. And this individual was extremely helpful in not only Philip to become a more established leader, but also my business, and then also the recipients of my business. So another source of inspiration is that I am a veteran and from the United States Navy. I served from 75 to 79. And there I learned the power of, that was the beginning of my introduction to providing, being of service. And all of my life, my careers, my companies, my life has been about being of service. And as a traveling notary, it was one of the, I didn't realize it at the time, but it's providing a great service. So the book speaks about it takes you through the journeys that I have been on, where I was called upon to be of service, and I willingly engaged in those opportunities, and I continue to be of service to my community, my family, and to those that come into my life. And I find it to be very rewarding. It's extremely challenging. Yeah, it's challenging, but it's also essential for me because it's a core value of who I am. And as I mentioned to you, the name of the book is Relentless Excellence, a story of family, business building, and value driven leadership. So one of the values is being of service, right? And so when I started my companies, I always drove toward, do you want to have a company where you're producing a product, or do you prefer to have a company where you're providing a service? And I think my strength is being of service, is providing a company that's being of service. And as a result, the two businesses that I started were doing just that. And so that is another source of inspiration for writing the book. And then of course, when you're providing a service, who you working for, and what goals do you hope to accomplish by the individuals that are recipients of your businesses? And so my first business, it was, I was definitely committed to identifying what are the needs of those that were seeking the services that we provided. And we did our best to fulfill those needs. And we were pretty successful. As a first time business owner, we were very, very successful. And it was a lot going on. And if you read the book, not if, when you read the book, you'll find out as well what was going on within those businesses and give you somewhat of a snippet in regard to what type of businesses they were and who were the recipients of those businesses and what was our mission for that business. And so, another inspiration for the book is that, well, who is this book for? Right? Who would be the ideal reader that could benefit from Relentless Excellence, a story of family, business building, and value driven leadership? Well, you could be an entrepreneur who is aspiring to climb to scale. You could be someone who wants to become an entrepreneur. And thus, this book could be a potential roadmap for you to follow. This could be someone who's an established leader of a business, and yet you're looking for some additional information that can maybe give you a different angle and how to look at things, how to approach things, and thus get some different type of outcomes. And you may be an athlete, you may be a student, or you may be a business owner, or you may be a parent who is talking to their children, and they're at that age where parents start having conversations with children in regard to what it is that they want to do with their life as a career. And my book may be able to give you some pointers, not that you need a lot, but it may be something that you could use to help your children get a better perspective on if they want to pursue the role of being an entrepreneur. Well, this is a book that can help them. And if they want to, learn how parents can be so influential to the decisions that their children make, this book can be helpful. So it's a book that is an easy read, it's inexpensive, and it can be found on my website, philliphogan.com. That's PhillipHogan.com. Go through the website. You'll see not only, some things about myself, you'll see the projects that I've created, you'll see my hobbies, and there's also an excerpt about the book that I think is really, really interesting. And then, of course, if you would like to subscribe to receive a copy or at least an announcement as to when the book will be launched, by all means, the website contains that type of information. So again, the book is about it's a book that speaks on to the point of motivation, inspiration, and more importantly, the underpinning of living a life of excellence, right? And that's who I am, and that's who my parents were. That's who my family. Those are the accomplishments that's the values that my family lived by, and they passed it on to me. So thank you for listening to this episode, and we look forward to meeting with you and talking with you in our next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to the Closing Market Weekly. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone in the industry. For more insights from the front lines of real estate closings, we'll see you next week.